All right, so in example 4, we are asked to write an equation involving absolute value for the graph. So if you look at our number line, you can see that we have two solutions, one at 17 and one at 27. So in order to write an absolute value equation that describes those 2 points, or the solutions are those 2 points, really going to think about what we talked about before, and that is think of the center of these 2 points. So if you look at 17 and you look at 27, where would be the middle of that? So 17, 27, you're going to, in your notes, you can say, find the center. Okay, so in this case, since we have 17 and 27, you could look at it, you could try to find it that way. You could also just find the average between the 2 points. So if you wanted a process, you could say 17 plus 22, and let's divide that by 2, and that'll give us the center. So in this case, not 22, 27, my bad. So 17 plus 27, that's going to give us 44 divided by 2. And if we divide that by 2, that means our center is 22. Okay? So, in other words, if we look back at the graph, this is the center point right here. Okay? There's the center. So this is a critical point because, remember, when we talk about absolute value, we talk about a distance, right? And so if I were to say these 2 points, 17 and 27, the thing that relates them is that they are equidistant, or they have the same distance to 22 as the other one, right? So you think about the center, which is 22, okay? Now, if I was standing at 22, that means that both the answers 17 and 27 would be the same distance away from me. So the next thing we want to do is calculate what is that distance. So what is this distance right here? And you could just look at the number line, right? 22 to 27. Well, that's a distance of 5. So this is going plus 5 this way and plus 5 this way. So in other words, if we were trying to think about the situation that we're seeing on the graph, we could say something like, which, I'm just going to write this out for our notes, which numbers have a distance of 5 from the number 22, right? If this was an original equation, we could say, starting at 22, if the center is 22, which numbers have a distance of 5 away, right? So when we write this equation, we're going to say something like this. We're going to have absolute value. Okay, remember absolute value is a distance, and if we want to describe the distance between 2 numbers, okay, we can subtract. So what we're going to say is x minus, okay, x is going to represent our solutions, okay, in this case it's going to represent 17 or 27, right, and then minus the center. Well, in this case the center is 22, okay, so the distance between the numbers and the center, 22, we've already established that distance is 5, right? We already looked here and said, well, both of those numbers have a distance of 5 from the number 22, which is our center. So the absolute value is going to equal 5, right? And so this is our equation to represent those 2 numbers as an absolute value, okay? So in summary, again, you look at your graph, you look at the 2 solutions that we have, and if you want to write absolute value, well, then you need to think about what is the center between those 2 numbers, and that's going to be your center point. And then really you're going to write an equation that simply looks like this. You're going to say x minus whatever the center is equals the distance away. Okay, and that's essentially all you're doing for each of these types of graphs. So you might need to practice this a little bit, but the concept, I'm going to put this over here in your notes. But the concept is really the same thing every time you try to write an absolute value equation. Look at the center, find the center, and then write your equation.